Alright, this next arc is Shido focused. To fully get the context of this arc, we have to go all the way back to the beginning. I skipped the arc with Shido and Madoka because originally this was supposed to just be about the anime and just general thoughts about that. Now that this arc has payoff to it, I have to go back and talk about it. This was like the third arc of the story. It's an early arc to introduce Shido. The boys are hired to get the client Madoka her violin back. Madoka is a 17-year-old blind girl that is a prodigy with the violin. She also has a sing-eyed dog named Mozart. The violin was stolen by the young Yakuza kid because he was jealous of her. They were students of a famous musician. The teacher gave her a special violin that the Yakuza kid thinks he should have gotten. The kid hires Shido and the zombie to protect the violin. This is a time when Shido and Bon haven't really met, so he mainly took the job to fight Bon. The Yakuza kid orders to kill Madoka, so Shido switches sides. He falls in love with Madoka and becomes her permanent protector. Quick and easy, now you kind of know who Madoka is. Now, fast forward to the arc before the final arc. There's another what I thought was filler with Shido and this bug guy. Shido doesn't go to Madoka's shows because he thinks he doesn't belong with the rich, pompous people. Madoka begs him to come to this one special show. Shido agrees to go to it, and he asks Heaven to help him look the part. This is where we learn there is a bug clan that are rivals of the Beast clan that Shido is a part of. You can see where this is going and how it relates to the arc we just got to. This bug clan guy recognizes Shido and stalks him until he finds the chance to ambush him. This guy specializes with spiders, so he has spider attacks. Shido doesn't want to be late to Madoka's concert, so he has to fight this dude. Bon and Genji take out the fodder and let Shido take down the main dude. Shido beats him. Shido is set on killing the guy, so he doesn't come back, but Bon and Genji stop him. They get Himiko to erase the last 24 hours of his memory with her perfume. Bon warns Shido to leave Madoka if he wants to keep her safe in a pretty serious scene. The concert is already over, so he just makes his way to Madoka's house. They tell him she hasn't come home yet, and Shido realizes that she's still at the venue waiting for him. He makes it there. She's by herself there waiting for him. She's not mad. She knew he would come, and she plays the song for him. It's a cute scene. Okay, you see why I didn't talk about any of this earlier? For the anime, this doesn't go anywhere other than a happy ending with the plot points that don't go anywhere. I didn't think it was important to talk about because the Bug Clan never shows up again. The warning Bon gives Shido doesn't amount to anything. Madoka and Shido is a cute story. Now there is more story for this, so I had to quickly go over the Madoka and Shido plot thread since it's all about to come into this next arc. And the one we just read, the new material is now that Poison Bee showed up. I was immediately like, are these bug people coming back into the story? The part of the arc I left out was when Shido and Kazuki saved Heaven from the bee attack that Poison Bee sent. Shido was shook. That's why he denied helping Kazuki with the disc that Paul gave him. He's more concerned with staying by Madoka if the bug people are back. Now the Bon and Poison Bee talk that I skipped was about Poison Bee asking about one of his clan members. He said the spider guy ended up in a hospital with his memory erased, except he remembered rats and lightning. B wants Bon to give more info, but Bon changes the subject. I didn't think that would spark a whole arc for Shido. And now I can talk about this next arc now that we're all caught up with Shido, Madoka, and the Bug Clan. Arc starts, Bon and Genji walking around town. Little professor girl walks past Bon and says, "The time is coming, Bon Mido. The time when all shall be revealed." Bon just smirks. I assume this is a way to signal the end of the story is near. The boys make it to the honky tonk, where Shido is waiting for them. Shido wants to know if it's true they fought a person that controlled bees, and if needed, would they help him protect Madoka? Bon rejects the offer, saying he told him if he wanted to protect Madoka, he would leave her. For obvious reasons, Shido doesn't want to leave her, so he gets on his hands and knees to beg them for help. Genji, of course, wants to help, but Bon still denies the job and takes the mature response and tells him again to leave her. Genji tries to convince Bon to help Shido, but Bon says he knows how much courage it takes for a man to get on his knees to beg, showing he was in a similar situation as Shido at some point. Shido then hires Himiko. She's not a bodyguard, he just hires her in case Madoka gets captured. Another person he hires is the goat, Akabane. Himiko poses a good question. The enemy hasn't even shown up yet. What's got you so jumpy? I agree with Himiko. Shido is making these bug people seem like they're a real threat. Shido says if he waits until they show up, it'll be too late, so he's gathering a team now. He's not worried about himself. He thinks they'll go after Madoka to make him suffer before they kill him. That's a valid concern. Madoka shows up, even though Shido told her to stay home. He walks her home, and he does have birds on surveillance around her to keep him informed on any strange activity. There's a quick cutaway to Genji asking Paul who the Kiryudo is, since Bon isn't telling him anything. Kiryudo is the name of the Bug Clan. Maryudo is the name of the Animal Clan. He just tells Genji stuff we already know. We go to Shido and Madoka. They're having a cute scene with them sitting in the yard having tea. Madoka is actually able to understand how to talk to animals now. She's able to understand some things Mozart, her singing eye dog, is saying. Shido tells Madoka a story about his clan leader. Humans and animals are similar, both build roads and homes, but humans are the only ones that waste what they have. Humans made fire because we were scared of the dark, but darkness isn't something to be scared of. Madoka says something kinda sad. A world of darkness is all she's ever known since she's blind. But she says darkness is her friend, and she doesn't fear it. Then she says she loves Shido in a nice double page spread. Now this is usually a death flag, having someone confess their love knowing there is a bug clan on the way. I don't think the mangaka has the guts to kill her. I like Madoka, she's chill, so I hope she doesn't die. She goes inside to refill the tea, and we get a devastating panel of her house filled with invisible butterflies. Mozart goes to get Shido, and when he goes to help, Madoka's gone. Shido gets ambushed by ant soldiers. If he didn't say they were ant soldiers, I would have thought he was getting attacked by aliens. Then a guy named Saicho Mumyoin showed up. He's the master of the invisible butterflies, and one of the 7 chiefs of the Kiryudo. Shido goes mad, asking where Madoka is. The ant soldiers come back, and Shido was having a hard time fighting everyone. We cut away for a little bit to the boys walking in town when Bon suddenly throws something behind Genji. He reveals a dude following them, and it looks like butterflies come off him. He's a part of Kiryudo, and says he should kill them now, and it cuts back to Shido. Saicho's butterflies hide anything from your senses, so Shido can't keep up with him and all of the distractions. Then 2 more, I assume, chiefs come and attack Shido. They're Murasaki Maru and Agia. Murasaki Maru is a guy that uses a centipede whip, and Agia is a woman that uses a bug gauntlet, I think. Shido is not focused on fighting them, he just calls for Madoka over and over again. Then Bon and Genji show up. I guess they low-diffed the guy following them and made it here to help. They fight for a little until Shido does a big animal whistle that makes all the bug people retreat. They leave with Madoka, and Shido loses hope. Genji cheers him up, and now the boys take the job to get her back. Shido gives Bon and Genji a beast flute to use when they find Madoka. He also gives them the disc Paul gave him that had the list of businesses that the Kiryudo have ties with. Shido is going to find more of his clan members to help. There's different factions within the clans. He's looking for people from each faction. Each faction has a season for the name. Haru is spring, Natsu is summer, and Aki is fall. Shido is part of the Fuyuki section, which is winter. Shido wants to completely annihilate the Kiryudo, which Bon tells him that's a bad idea. Apparently they need Shido for something, so they won't harm Madoka until he does whatever they want him to do. Shido flies away, and I don't think that bird can hold a human, so it's a little goofy. I used the guy they beat earlier to get info out of him. They also call Heaven to contact Himiko and Akabane that Madoka has been taken. Genji asks Makubex to help if he can, so he sends Emishi to help. The Kiryudo have been watching the Bon and Genji from a spider that they modified to have a camera on it. Jorogumo, which I think is pronounced Jogumo, is the spider queen. She's the mother of the spider guy that they beat. She's one of the 7 chiefs of the clan, trying to get revenge for him. She's short-tempered, attacking a dude trying to give her information about Himiko, since she's the one that erased his memory. Poison Bee tells her not to underestimate them, but Jogumo reveals that Poison Bee is the only one left in his faction. Yeah, the Bug Clan has factions of their own within the clan. Jogumo is a part of the Spider Clan. Bee is by himself. I assume Butterfly Guy is also in his own faction. And I guess the people that helped him aren't 2 of the chiefs. They're just others in his faction. What B really came to tell them is that Shido hired a dangerous man to help him, putting respect on the GOAT Akabane. I'm ready to see Akabane fight one of these people, and he's on our side, so I can cheer him on. We cut to, surprisingly, Kazuki. He's looking for information about Takeru Teshimine. I think that's how you pronounce it. He was in the anime. He's another character in the final arc that barely got any time to flesh out who he was, so it's good that we're hopefully gonna get more about him. They do mention he was the lower town's king of the Limitless Fortress and raised Genji. The guy that Kazuki is getting the information from has really good memory. He mentions another person asked him about Takeru a week ago. The guy who asked him had a black string. As the guy is remembering, he freaks out and gets split in half. That panel caught me off guard. I thought he was just gonna pass out or something, not get split in half. Apparently it was the Hydra's ban, a technique only used by Dark to kill someone the moment they say a certain word. So Kazuki drops a new faction name. It's a lame name, calling it Dark, but they sound like a threat, so okay. Getting back to the boys, they go to a place in the Limitless Fortress southeast block called China Street. Expanding the lore for the fortress, cool. This is the Spider Lady's territory. They brought the guy they beat to show them the way. And Jesus Christ, we were doing so well with the toned down fan service. The Spider Lady Jogumo sets a trap of women for the boys. Skip, 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 skip. Luckily, Himiko shows up to break the horny. A bunch of dudes try to seduce Himiko as a part of the trap, but she doesn't fall for it. They go into the club, and Bon's still getting seduced by women. Himiko is still being annoyed by dudes, repeating the same things over and over. And Genji knows one of the girls, and he tries to get her to help them. They go to another room to go talk, and she turns out to be Jogumo. One of the guys annoying Himiko reveals to be the son and the girls take Bon to a dark room. Someone shoots electricity at him, and oh my god, Genji's attacking Bon. Obviously, Jogomo did something to make Genji attack Bon. She goes back to a room to watch the fight. The guy they brought with them is with her. Also, some tarantula triplets join on the fight to kill Bon. The fake out happens where it looks like Bon stabs Genji in the ear to kill him, but of course he stabs a spider in his ear that was controlling him. Bon already low diffed the brothers. Jogomo is going to send 2 more people, Kagegumo and Tobigumo. Kagegumo means shadow spider, Tobigumo means jumping spider, and another guy named Onigumo also wants to go, Onigumo meaning demon spider. He has a gross spider form. Also, Himiko is having a tough time with Kirihito. The boys annoying her were also mind controlled. She burns them with a flame perfume, but their main goal was already achieved. They were wrapping her up in a web the whole time. The boys are surrounded by people being controlled by Jogomo. Bon tells Genji to go for the spiders in their ears, and Genji tells Bon to go find Himiko. Genji makes quick work of the controlled people, then gets attacked by the 2 spider girls. Himiko is stuck in a web, getting her blood taken by Kirihito. Weird. Bon sneaks up on him and hits him in the back of the head. Kirihito, to me, is the guy that thinks he's strong, but is nowhere near as strong as he thinks he is. I just can't take him seriously. Bon's feet get stuck in the web on the ground. It looks like he gets hit by a big attack, but he just slips out of his shoes to get unstuck. He disrespects Kirihito by going too fast for him to keep up with. When Bon is done playing with him, he's about to end it, but finally Onigumo comes and saves Kirihito. Bon clashes with Onigumo. They seem to be evenly matched until Bon reveals he's only going 50% speed. The second he flashes 60%, Onigumo gets shook. Genji is still struggling fighting the 2 girls. He's low on power, thinking the spider that was controlling him did something to drain him. He can't keep up with the girls. He needs to recharge, and he sees a cord that he could recharge with. He tries to get to it, but Kagegumo, which is the shadow spider, turns Genji's shadow into spider clones that hold him down. He blocks that attack with his belt weapon that he uses sometimes, and reaches the cord. He knocks out Tobigumo, the jumping spider, and he brings her back down safely. Kagegumo still wants to fight, but Genji convinces her to stop fighting. He doesn't want to kill anyone, and he doesn't understand why they're at war. Kagegumo even says she doesn't even know why they're at war with Shido's clan. It's been a war happening for hundreds of years. The only thing she was told is that Shido's clan started it. Back to Bon and Onigumo. He's still messing with Onigumo at 65%. Bon also doesn't see them as an enemy. He just wants info on where Madoka is. Onigumo does a transformation that turns him full spider that manages to slam Bon into the ground. This is called karmic burden. Once you go full bug, you can't turn back human, except at the exact moment of death, they can turn back. Bon takes a big hit, and we get actually a glimpse of Bon's parents. It's a double-page spread where his mom regrets giving birth to him, calling him a monster. You can see Bon with his grandmother in the back. Bon does his snake bite power-up thing and one-shots Onigumo. He reverts him back to human, and it turns out Bon used the Jogon to fake out his death to turn him back human. If your brain thinks you died, it's enough to turn you back to human, is the simple answer. You know the drill. Bon and Genji aren't here to kill people. Kirihito thinks he has the advantage on Himiko, but she low diffs him with her perfume and knocks him out. Onigumo tells them where to find Jogomo. Akamon shows up to where Genji is with the girls, and he tells him where Jogomo is. Genji makes it to the place first. He finds Madoka. She mentions that he's injured, but Madoka's blind. That's when he gets stabbed, and it's revealed to be Jogomo. She's able to change appearance. Genji seems to be at his wit's end and goes Lightning Emperor mode, and lightning just starts hitting the building. He's just focused on killing Jogomo. She's not a fighter, more of a schemer, so she escapes. Bon tries to get there to stop Genji, but he's too late, and Genji just nukes the entire place. Jogomo is headed to home base, which is called Hell Valley. The other chiefs are watching from far away. Genji wakes up. Bon gets really mad at him for going in that mode. He says people could have died, and he'd have to live with it. He tells Genji he's off the job, and to wait at the honky-tonk. Bon tells him to shock him, but he can't. Genji has no power left. This is actually a pretty sad section of the arc. I think Bon's being a little too mean to Genji. Kazuki tells them where Madoka potentially is, which is of course Hell Valley. Genji goes to the honky-tonk sad that Bon left him. He notices something strange in the honky-tonk, and a dude hidden with the invisible butterflies come out. Genji doesn't have the power to fight him, but the goat arrives. Akabane cuts him from behind. Akabane came to get Genji. For some reason, Heaven decides to tag along, even though it's dangerous. Alright, a quick recap in case anyone is confused or just lost track of what was happening. Shido came to Bon and Genji to ask for help in case Madoka gets taken. They say no to the job. Then he goes to Himiko and Akabane, and they agree to. He goes back to Madoka. She gets taken. Bon and Genji show up and decide to help finally. He gives them a flute in case they find Madoka, and they get intel on where to go next, which is the China Street, which is in the Limitless Fortress. They're at the spider's lair with Jogomo. She's one of the 7 chiefs. She mainly wants revenge for them beating up her son. Genji gets taken over from one of her spiders, but he gets broken out of that. Then he has to fight 2 girls. He beats them. Bon fights Onigumo, who is the demon spider, and we learn about the karmic burden, which lets him turn full bug. He beats him. Himiko beats Kirito, the son. Genji is told where Madoka is. by Hakamon, the guy that they brought with them. It turns out to be a trap. It's actually Jogamo being disguised as Himiko. She stabs Genji, and he goes full Lightning Emperor mode and just nukes the place. This puts everyone in danger, and Ban scolds him and makes him not be on the mission anymore. Also, Genji, for some reason, can't use his electric powers anymore, and he goes to the honky-tonk, and he gets attacked by a dude with the invisible butterflies, but Akabane saves him. Akabane just contradicts Ban and makes Genji go with him, and Heaven joins along, and now everyone's going to the Kiryudo home base, which is Hell Valley. Now they're on the same page, on to the next part. Ban, Himiko, and Kazuki drive to the valley. They come across a bridge that wasn't on a map, but it's crawling with stag beetles. Himiko made a special scent. It's just a really strong pesticide. One of the chiefs concludes she's the most dangerous, so she needs to be taken out first. Genji, Heaven, and Akabane are in a helicopter on the way to the valley. We had a nice back and forth of the two groups talking about the chiefs. The chiefs are Suiha Koyanagi. He has water insects, known as the Water Wizard. Juro Kamata has mantises. He's an assassin. Dokubachi, aka Poison Bee. He's a physician. Beetle guy that attacked them is Genshu Miyama, the warrior. Jogamo, the spider. She's the tactician. Saicho. Mamyoin, the butterfly guy, is the monk. And the last one, Samimaru Kanade, who uses sound. Hopefully I pronounced all those right. Ban's group gets attacked by Genshu, the stag beetle guy's henchman. They make Himiko fall down a cliff. The Genji group hears cicadas. That makes Heaven go crazy and attack the person flying the helicopter. Akabane makes her go to sleep. Then the pilot goes crazy and crashes the helicopter. Akabane jumped out the helicopter with Heaven while Genji crashes with the helicopter. Ban can sense Genji and he tells Kazuki to go help him while he saves Himiko. Genji saved the helicopter pilot, but he gets really hurt from the crash. He's on the verge of death, then a mystery girl shows up and heals him. Finally, Shido's clan are here. Karu Haruki is the girl, and Ryuho Agi is the guy. They still have to meet up with the last person, Aimen Natsuki. Apparently, Karu was able to heal Genji because he was able to connect to the land and life energy from the animals easily. They call Aimen the Grim Reaper, which is a good nickname to have on the good guy side. Kazuki meets up with Akabane and Heaven, who also found Genji passed out. Himiko keeps getting captured by the enemy in these arcs. She's captured again. They did the smart thing and took her perfumes off her. Miyama, the stag beetle chief, asks her an interesting question that kind of flips the story. He asks Himiko if she can make a perfume that would kill only the insect part of them. He takes off the helmet of one of his subordinates to reveal a horrifying face. The karmic burden thing is a gift and a curse. They have to constantly hold back turning into full bug. I did not see this twist coming. The hints were there, but I didn't catch on. It makes sense because none of them actually want to turn into bugs. There must be something that happened in the past that caused this, and they blame Shido's clan, is what I'm guessing. In the first silhouette we see of these chiefs when they were watching Ban and Genji, there's a yin and yang symbol in the scene. I assume this arc ends with both clans coming to an understanding. They probably need each other for some reason. That's just a theory I have. It's not a hard one to come up with. It's a bug and animals come together, nature stuff, I don't know. We get a goofy scene with Emishi on a bus toward the valley. He's making jokes on the bus trying to make people laugh. There's this other guy trying to make this old lady laugh, but he's failing. Emishi tries and she's still not laughing. It's revealed that she doesn't even speak Japanese. She's Chinese, and they laugh it off. The other guy is Aimen Natsuki, the last guy Shido was waiting for. Aimen and Emishi have an interesting conversation. Aimen asks if Emishi had to die in order for Shido to live, what would he do? And Emishi probably says he would sacrifice himself. Shido helped him a long time ago, so it would be him paying him back. They get attacked by mantis dudes. Emishi does his whip attacks, while Aimen stops the scythe with his bare hand. The mantis guy just disintegrates for some reason. He gets a classic anime pose with a cool panel. I don't know what he did that has to do with animals. Genji wakes up. Akabane comes back with a bear with its head cut off. Pretty savage. Kazuki warns him not to kill animals while Shido's clan is around, but Akabane, being Akabane, wants the smoke with anyone. Genji shows some respect to the dead bear, telling Akabane all life is precious, even animals. We move on to Ban. And why is this guy here? Kyuji Kagami, the mirror dude, randomly shows up. He says he's here because he's in love with Himiko. Ban doesn't believe him. I don't believe him, but that's the reason he gives. Since Himiko is captured, he wants to help save her. The stag beetle henchmen attack them. Kagami does his diamond dust. It puts glass shards in the air. People breathe it in and it shreds their insides. Unfortunately, if you don't make sure they die, they transform into actual bug monsters. Himiko shows up and she's on the side of the Kiryudo now. This part I'm not sure how to feel about at the moment. It feels forced just to have Ban fight Himiko for some reason. She's not being mind controlled. She just joins the other side because I guess she feels bad for them. Even though the main reason they're there is to save Madoka. I feel bad that they are cursed to turn into bugs, but I don't think that's a good enough reason to flip sides right now. I also hold out hope it's just a bluff. So let's see. The chiefs are watching them fight, and they also aren't convinced she actually joined their side. Kagami sneaks behind Ban and cuts him. He said he's here for Himiko, so he's helping Himiko kill Ban. They double team him. Himiko manages to cut Ban's eyes to take away his Jagan as he falls into the river. I'm not convinced she would switch sides. I assume it was a bluff. She most likely just cut below the eyes to trick the chiefs. But we'll have to see that later because the Genji squad runs into the Cicada guy, Semimaru Kanade. Apparently Akabane had an encounter with this guy before, which is surprising. Cicada dude and his henchmen attack. Akabane has to take on Semimaru since Genji is still out of power, except Genji goes into a zen state where he remembers from his past. Takashime, again, don't worry about who he is for now, taught him to not use all his cards too soon. Now that he lost his power temporarily, he's starting to believe in his own strength without it. Akabane sees him and he's in awe, but he's not paying attention to the dude he's fighting, so he gets cut in the back. Akabane asks Semimaru what is death. Semimaru shows him because Akabane is letting him get low diffed by this dude. I'm waiting for the gotcha moment, but it's looking pretty bleak right now. They're getting overwhelmed until Jubei and Toshiki come to help. I don't know what's happening in this arc. The roster of people is getting too big, and I don't know where this is going. This is all just for some bug people. Semimaru uses his loot to control his henchmen. They move perfectly since removing their own free will and giving it all to Semimaru allows them to attack without fear. I see why Jubei and Toshiki are here now. It's just to have this moment where they are also perfectly in tune with the way they fight. It rivals Semimaru. Semimaru retreats so he can change up his tune to fight them. They try to tease that Akabane is dead. He's never experienced death and he wanted to experience it closely or something, but it didn't work. I think it was just a way to get him out the fight. We see the Kiryudo gather. They're ready to fully counterattack, and there is a disturbing reveal. There's a giant egg behind them, and Madoka is inside of it, and she's giving commands to fight so she can be reborn. I don't know what's happening, but it has me worried, and it gets entered immediately because Makobex was looking into the history of the Kiryudo clan. The only thing consistent in all the years of the clan is the clan leader's name. It's always been Kabuto for hundreds of years. I guess he chose Madoka as a host body. They say that's our king's new form, so I really hope there's a happy ending to this. Emishi and Amon get into a fight with Juro Kamata, the Mantis assassin. He helped destroy Amon's village a long time ago. Juro tells Amon to hand it over or die. We still don't know what this it thing is, so it seems like Shido's clan has something they refuse to give back for some reason. Emishi goes for an attack, but he feels drained. The reason for Emishi feeling drained is because Amon sucks the life energy of anything around him. He did try to tell Emishi earlier, but they keep getting distracted. Also, Juro is fighting Amon because he also has the same ability to drain the life of people around him. Amon tells Emishi to run since he can only fight solo. Amon has a rough time fighting Juro, but Emishi comes back and saves him in a dope panel with Juro about to stab Amon, and Emishi has his whip blocking it from behind his back while also wrapping it around Juro's arm. Emishi says his sick line, "It's time to laugh amidst a rain of blood again." Juro does a big life suck, but Emishi is unfazed. I don't remember if I mentioned this, but Emishi's whip is made from a bunch of his clan's woman's hair. He says special dragon hairs of thousands of Rauran woman, which adds to his life force. It's kind of a cop-out win, but I'll take it. Emishi does his finishing move, but it wasn't enough to fully beat him, so he turns full Mantis. He doesn't really do anything in this form. Amon just low dips him by disintegrating him. The other chiefs cope that he was weak anyway. We get back to Ban. He was captured. Luckily, I was right. Himiko didn't switch sides. It was all a ruse to get into the base. Himiko used a message perfume that somehow tells you a message. Kind of a BS way to explain it. That one's a little wacky. The Beetle guy is the one who switched sides. He wants to go against the leader of the clan and free them of the bug side to be just normal humans. He doesn't care about the history. He thinks the clan should end. Of course, Ban doesn't care about them. He just wants to get the job done and get Madoka back. We get a quick stop at the Limitless Fortress, and we see some familiar faces. We see Masaki Kurusu, the light guy from the last arc in the anime, and lame wind guy. Somehow he's seeing what Kagami is seeing, observing Ban and the gang. Masaki says everything is going according to what's written in the archives. Masaki says Genji will die in the fight against the Bug Clan since it's written in the archive, and he said he wanted to kill Genji with his own hands. Knowing how the anime goes, this should be a lie. It's an interesting thing to cut to. This coming up reminded me we really haven't seen things at the end of the anime set up. Like, we're starting to see more of the characters pop up. This is the first mention of Masaki, and the final arc is absolutely going to take place in the fortress. I'm curious to see how this arc is supposed to go instead of how it went in the anime. I just noticed we already got Toshiki on our side, so yeah, the final arc should be way different. Back to Genji and friends. He senses enemies around them. Akabane, Kazuki, Jubei, and Toshiki couldn't sense. Akabane says they sense changes in ki, aka life energy around them, to sense people. Genji has an electromagnetic field around him, so he can sense things they can't. They're surrounded by giant spiders. It's 400 people that succumb to the karmic burden. We see Jogamo, the Spider Queen, talking with her people. They think that should be enough to wipe them out until Kagegumo and Tobygumo come in and tell her they already beat the 400 soldiers. 6 people beat 400 Oniguma says each of them has the strength of 1,000 soldiers. Jubei, Toshiki, and Kazuki are injured from the fight. Kazuki tells Genji to go ahead with Akabane to put an end to the war. Genji doesn't want to leave them, and Akabane kind of talks shit about them for being injured fighting low-level enemies. Genji gets serious for a moment and makes a cool observation. Akabane killed all the enemies he fought, while the others didn't kill a single person. It's harder to knock them out than to just kill them. Genji asks if Akabane could do that. We know Akabane's philosophy, it's kill or be killed. If you fight him, you will die unless you beat him. Genji and Akabane do leave. Kazuki and them are actually more hurt than they let on to make Genji not worry about them. But then Karu shows up and she heals them. Still injured enough to not continue fighting. Shido's squad has been doing something this whole time that I think I like the reveal. I forgot this was a Shido arc because he hasn't been in it for most of it. I thought by now he would have done more. It turns out they've been keeping bugs from coming into the area. Kazuki tells Shido to finally tell them why this war is happening, and apparently Eamon is the one holding the key to this war. Apparently, Eamon has the thing needed to resurrect Kabuto, the leader of the Kiryudo, so I guess that's what they want, the resurrection of their leader. Genji and Akabane end up in a beautiful field. Semimaru shows up to fight Akabane, and Akabane tells Genji to go ahead, and Genji gets super shook from Akabane's aura. They fight a bit, and we see a glimpse into their past. It looks like Akabane maybe saved Semimaru in a war, and Semimaru makes it seem like that's where Akabane got his philosophy. He went to the battlefield as a doctor to save people until he realized his destiny was to kill people. Bond's team ends up in a trap. The butterflies made an illusion that led them to the old beast palace where the Marudo clan once lived. It's the two butterfly people that attack Shido at the beginning of the arc, the centipede whip guy and the girl with the bug fist thing. The girl has poison scales. Himiko wants to fight her. She doesn't want Bond to think of her as a burden, and I do want Himiko to step it up and not need Bond to save her in a fight. Miyama, the stag beetle chief, fights the whip dude. Bond and Kagami move forward and leave them to it. Genji attempts to swim across the lake, but he's having trouble. An abandoned ship floats by him, so he gets onto that. Obviously, it's a trap, most likely the water bug guy. He gets attacked. He finally comes to terms that he needs to learn how to fight without relying on his electricity powers. Turns out, he's getting attacked by skeletons. There's a funny panel of Genji in chibi form trying to do Bond's snake bite attack. Suiya Koyanagi, the water bug guy, uses fear to deter people from finding the Kiryudo hideout. Apparently, Koyanagi is the master of defense for the Kiryudo. He controls aquatic plants instead of insects. Eamon also says Koyanagi is the most evil of the Kiryudo. Real quick, we are playing real fast and loose with these powers. I thought it was going to be insect guy versus animal guy. Now we got this guy that controls water plants instead of insects, and Eamon just sucks the life of things around him. He has nothing to do with animals. The powers in this arc aren't what I expected them to be. Why there are animal people with no animal powers and a clan full of animal people, I have no idea. But anyway, moving on. We cut to Himiko and Miyama fighting the other butterfly people. The Agia lady is similar to Himiko. She uses different kinds of poisons on her butterflies that she sends out at people. Hers is better than Himiko's since they can track people, and Himiko has to rely on the wind. Miyama protects Himiko, ignoring the whip dude. Miyama has a really strong defense, so the whip dude can't hurt him. It's looking good for them until Hakamon sneak attacks Miyama. Apparently Hakamon is the top assassin for the butterflies. This isn't enough to take down Miyama though, and he manages to rip Hakamon's arm off. Unfortunately, the other two saw Miyama's weakness and put the final blow to him. Now it's just Himiko versus the two of them. Whip guy touches Himiko and his arm falls off for some reason. We finally get a cool panel of Himiko, hopefully about to 1v2 these people. She uses the acceleration perfume to increase her speed. Agia uses her acceleration butterflies to increase her speed, and the whip guy's speed. They seem to be faster than Himiko, and they have the upper hand. Himiko's in a zen-like state. She's so locked in, she even fights topless. She doesn't seem phased that they are faster than her. She uses a special perfume, Red Death Scent, that ends the battle. She doesn't explain what it does, and I'm not sure what it does. She doesn't kill them. Miyama leaves her with words of encouragement as he disintegrates. She promises to keep her promise of making a perfume that kills their bug side to make them full human. We finally get the backstory of the Kiryudo and the Marudo. They used to live together in this valley. They used to be one clan. They were united under one god and were given something powerful called the Chimera that divided them into bugs and animals. The Chimera is a heart. Kabuto was supposed to be the leader of both clans, but he was crazy. They say Kabuto isn't alive, but he isn't dead. He's more of an evil spirit that just refuses to die. Even though Kabuto was chosen to lead both clans, the Marudo stole the Chimera to stop him because he wanted to rule the world. They ripped the Chimera's heart from his chest and hid it from the Kiryudo, and that's why this war started. If the Kiryudo get the Chimera, they can revive Kabuto and take over the world. That's why Shido said Eamon has the key to all this. The Chimera is inside of him right now. This is good. I was scared the reveal of why they were fighting would be something dumb. This answers a lot of questions. Why they only took Madoka instead of just killing Shido. The war is justified with pretty good reason. It's not something dumb like the leader of both clans couldn't agree on which species is better or something. It would have been funny but lame as a reason to fight. This also gives hope that they can get Madoka back, since it seems like she's just being possessed. Move to Akabane's fight with Sesshomaru. It's a cool fight. They again ask each other, what is death? Akabane has a cool line saying, death is someone else's problem. Akabane asks him why he's working with the Kiryudo. He was in a war and had the nickname Sergeant Genocide, which is a badass name, I guess. Akabane asks if he's helping them because of the death of his son. The war Akabane was the doctor in couldn't save Sesshomaru's son. Sesshomaru wants to use the Chimera to resurrect his son, and Akabane says his answer is boring, and it kind of is. It's not a unique motivation. Akabane says he can send him to his son as he splits Sesshomaru in half, then throws a rain of knives at him. Sesshomaru's last words hint that the things Akabane says are really things that he feels about himself. Akabane denies that interpretation as he leaves Sesshomaru to die. Now we go to Genji struggling with Koyanagi. He's controlling the mud to suffocate Genji. Genji has a flashback of a conversation he had with Ban. Ban was talking about how Genji could become really strong. He's not talking about Lightning Emperor mode. He even says the Lightning Emperor mode has a weak side to him that he sees. He says the things humans can do alone are limited. I think hinting that the Lightning Emperor mode alone isn't strong. He tells Genji to become strong in his own way. It's always nice to see a panel of the boys being happy. Back to Genji being suffocated. He thinks of his bonds with his friends. What connects him to them is an invisible connection that strengthens him. Then he's able to hear the mud surrounding him. They don't want to kill people anymore. Genji is able to convert the mud to his side, and Koyanagi stands down. The mud hated killing people, and Genji was able to tell them they don't have to kill people anymore. So they stop listening to Koyanagi. He takes Genji to the Kiryudo Palace entrance. Koyanagi asks himself what they've been fighting for 100 years. He made his living mud suffer, and Genji released them from that suffering. He says maybe the Kiryudo should accept that the world has changed. Not really a fight, but this was a nice different way of beating the opponent. He used fear to beat his opponents, and Genji gave him hope instead. There's a quick scene of Masaki Kurusu. It says Genji beating Koyanagi was one of the manifest destinies recorded from the archive, meaning it was inevitable to happen. It was destined to happen. He says Genji is headed toward his final resting place, still getting drip-fed lore about the Limitless Fortress. It seems like the archive can tell the future, but I don't know what they are waiting for specifically. Ban and Kagami are still making their way through the palace, Kagami being annoying about just being an observer. He hints that the time is coming. Still don't know what that means. Ban thinks he's most likely a part of the Brain Trust. Kagami wants to see how Ban will deal with his destiny and how he will react to Genji dying. He also says show him the future of the heirs of the Get Backers name, meaning there was another group with the same name before them. Interesting. They sense Dokubachi, aka Poison Bee. They gas up Dokubachi, making him seem really strong. Kagami even says Ban will have trouble fighting him. Ban can't find an opening against Dokubachi. He even says it's easier to fight Akabane. The first time he fought Dokubachi, he thinks Dokubachi was only using a third of his power. Dokubachi tells Ban he won't have to worry about bees attacking him. He's not going to send them out. When the bees leave Dokubachi, he moves 1/100 of a second slower. So just keeping them inside him, he'll move faster to fight Ban. Ban just goes in for an attack. This exchange leaves Ban with a wound on his shoulder. Dokubachi compliments Ban for deflecting his attack rather than blocking it, because his stingers at the end of his fingers would immobilize him or kill him. Also, Ban attacked 12 different places in less than 1/10 of a second, which is kind of crazy. They do another exchange. Kagami notices they're equal in fighting talent, but Ban's slightly better. But Dokubachi is reading Ban's every move. Since his body is made of bees, he can see everything around him with no blind spots. Ban does a fake out with his shirt to attack from above. He manages to rip off Dokubachi's arm, but since he's made of bees, it just grows back. He uses bee formations since the bees are his body. He offers Ban to join him to learn under him to become the ultimate fighter. Ban does his serpent power-up thing that usually ends fights in one hit. Dokubachi changes to his king bee formation. Ban just tanks an attack from Dokubachi and responds by ripping his arm off from a distance. Kagami says Ban has surpassed his limits and he's just going off. Ban does another attack that just leaves Dokubachi's upper half and one arm still gone. Dokubachi tells Ban to go forward. He's been living for so long that he forgot what it was like to feel like he was about to die. He sees now that there is no life without death, and if that's true, then the Kiryudo should die. He calls Ban a beautiful Grim Reaper as he turns into his bug form, which is just releasing all the bees that make up his body. Kagami isn't sure if Dokabachi even used his full power, putting some respect on his name. Dokabachi lived up to the hype. I liked his calm demeanor. I'm glad he didn't just attack Bon with a bunch of ease. He kept it simple and pushed Bon to his limit. I don't know if he really wanted to kill Bon or not. He seemed like a cool dude if they didn't have to fight each other. He would have been a cool side character to the main group. This was all Jogamo's plan, but it's not working. Saicho says Jogamo sent the chiefs in one at a time when they should have just overwhelmed them with their numbers. Onugumo says if they did that, they would probably have won, but with many casualties, which is an okay explanation. Yes, the obvious thing to do was just send everybody to kill, the 10 people and get it over with. At least there was some answer as to why they didn't do that. Saicho takes over Jogamo's job of making plans. Apparently this is going according to his plan. I assume he wants the Chimera for himself and not for Kabuto. We'll see, it's only the 2 of them left out of the 7, so let's see how this goes. Bon confronts Kagami, telling him he knows he's just there to watch him and Genji. He even knows he's watching simulations from the Limitless Fortress to see who would win the fight. I didn't know that was a thing he could do, watch a simulation from the fortress to where he is now. Bon asks who won in the simulation, but Kagami turned it off before he could see it. Emishi and Amon are allowed to pass the bridge to the palace because they know he has the Chimera inside him. This kind of worries Amon because he doesn't know who told them he had it. Shido and the gang make their way to the palace. We get the main powers of the other Marudo. Ryuo is the leader of the Agi, the sleepers. Peaceful sleep to all living things. He puts anything in a state of sleep close to death. Karu from the Haruki clan are the healers. Shido is the Fuyuki clan with the awakening power. That's just his normal animal controlling power. And Amon Natsuki controls death. The elder says all living beings will awaken, fall asleep, be healed, then die, and return to what they were meant to be. It is weird that they're supposed to be an animal clan when only one clan does things with animals. The others just have completely different powers, unless they can also talk to animals to an extent. I thought each of them would just have a main animal they represent, but no, it's way more interesting than that. It's still weird though. They make it to the lake where Akabane fought Semimaru. Semimaru is still alive somehow, so Karu saves him. Her motto is, save those who should live no matter who they are. Ryuo is the one keeping all the insects around them asleep, or else they would have been swarmed by millions of bugs. He has to release that in order to get across this lake. Shido makes a bridge of fish so they can cross it. The Shido group meet up with Amon and Emishi. There's a lot of banter. Ryuo doesn't like Amon because of his life drain, I guess. They meet up with Akabane and Genji. Akabane seems to have knowledge of what's about to happen. This is where we get an interesting question. There's 2 ways to save Madoka. Either give the Chimera to Kabuto, or Shido has to wager his life, whatever that means. He implies someone has to die either way, so I'm not sure exactly what happens here. He puts it another way. If Shido killed Genji, what would Bon do? If the archive says that's what happens, would he kill Shido before that happens? Himiko shows up before Bon can answer. Bon just says, fuck destiny, screw the archive. He's going to do the classic change fate trope. He wants to go in alone, so Himiko and Kagami stay back. Saicho tells Jogamo to make a last stand in the arena. We see a flashback to Saicho talking to Kabuto. Kabuto wants his clan to die. The more that die, the stronger he gets. He promises Saicho that in a world where he is king, he will give him anything he wants. Genji and everyone step into the arena. Jogamo wants Onigumo to stop the army. She realizes that Kabuto wants them all dead. Onigumo tells her it's too late. Also reveals that he's the father of Kirihito. Shido tells everyone to stay back. He wants him and his clan to finish the job, and he only asks Genji to join him. Shido boosts the power of the others. Ryuo makes a bunch of people fall asleep. Amon kills them while they sleep, and Karo heals them if they get injured. They take out the whole army in minutes. Genji is wondering why Shido needs him if they're able to do all this, which is a valid question. I thought Shido's clan was the underdog, but it seems like they were the ones with all the power. Kabuto starts the resurrection ritual by absorbing all the souls of the army. Jogamo tells them Kabuto's plan. Nobody believes her except Genji. They come across stairs. Jogamo says they could be fake stairs made by Saicho to make them fall into a pit. Ryuho tells her to go first in case it's a trap, but Genji volunteers instead, and it actually was a trap, but Bon saves him. Finally, the 2 are reunited. Reunited to be split up again. Bon senses Saicho in front of them. He has a cool line saying he just needs 1 minute to beat him. I feel like this means he's gonna hit him with the Jagan, but we'll see. They move on, but Saicho says to Bon that there's a traitor on their side. It's seeming like Shido really might sacrifice Genji. They keep hinting at it. Like in this fight, they are literally counting the minute Bon said it would take to beat him. Bon says Saicho is weaker than Dokabachi, Poison Bee. Saicho just hides behind his butterflies, making other people do the work. Saicho reveals that Shido is the traitor and agreed to give Kabuto Genji's body in exchange for Madoka's. The minute is almost up and Bon just destroys him. He punches him for his own satisfaction. He punches him for Miyama, the stag beetle chief that helped them. He punches him for Madoka, and a last slam for all the Kiryudo. I'm fine with this. I'm done with these fights. I just want to see how this ends at this point. There's no way Genji dies here for obvious reasons. He's the second main character. Shido has to knock out Genji so Kabuto can change bodies. Genji tells him to do it and gets his body taken over. Once he gets Genji's body, he immediately attacks Amon to get the Chimera. He tries to use lightning, but he can't because Genji is out of power. That's when the double twist comes in. Shido attacks Kabuto. It was always his plan to fight Kabuto when he left Madoka's body. He's hoping Genji will come through and beat Kabuto out of his body. He uses his special awakening on Genji that boosts his power. 70% of the Limitless Fortress's power shoots out of it to go to Genji to do the final thing we were missing this arc, the Lightning Emperor. This was the choice he knew he would have to make to save Madoka. Unfortunately, Kabuto takes over Shido's body. He starts wrecking Ryuo, Karu, and Amon. Genji comes in and saves them. Kabuto tells him he's just hurting Shido's body, but Genji is able to attack Kabuto's soul with his electromagnetic hits without touching Shido's body. Eventually, Kabuto gets knocked out of Shido's body, and his true identity is revealed. He's just a tiny bug. A long time ago, there was a collection of energy called the Chimera that was floating around before it entered a bug. If it entered a human, it would have been fine, but inside a tiny bug, the Chimera lost control. The bug became obsessed with power and life. It grew to control humans and create a race known as Kiryudo. The power to live forever turned a single insect into a monster. This is a cool reveal. Genji was gonna go kill a bug, but Bon just tells him not to. Shido actually did die, and Emishi has the hardest time taking it. Amon decides to give Shido the Chimera, which means he dies instead. Amon and Emishi have been buddies this whole arc. He leaves Emishi with one last bad joke as he disappears. Himiko shows up with the cure for the Kiryudo. She made a perfume that teaches insects their home isn't inside the human body, but in nature. Bon uses the Jagon on Kabuto, and I can't believe I feel bad for a beetle. We see his backstory. He is born happy and free. He gets caught by a school kid. He bites him and won't let go. The kid is about to crush him, but Bon shows up and uses Himiko's perfume to stop him from biting the kid. His desire to live was so strong that it turned him into a monster. If there was a little bit of kindness, none of this would have happened. It is crazy that this made me want to be nicer to bugs. All the souls that Kabuto had captured got returned to all the people that still had the desire to live. So the Kiryudo clan is dead, but the people live. No more karmic burden. Emishi has some sad last words for Amon. I felt the emotion from this scene. Amon and Emishi were a fun team. It sucks seeing Emishi alone again. I feel for him. Samaru lives, and Akabane gives him some parting words. Samaru is the only one mad that Kabuto lost, since his child can't be resurrected now. Akabane is out of character talking to Samaru. It makes it seem like he left him slightly alive so he could die a slow, painful death. Akabane is annoyed that he's still crying about his dead son and gives him advice to go to the Limitless Fortress. Samaru tells Akabane a poem before he leaves. I didn't expect Akabane to actually have a friend-ish, if you can call him that. I like this little interaction these two had. I didn't know Akabane had a soft side to him. I do wonder if we'll see Samaru again in the story. The Kiryudo want to live in the valley again. They offer the Maryudo to live with them again, but they decline. They need more time to process. Overall, a pretty happy ending. They rewrote the prophecy of the Limitless Fortress. There is some interesting wording here. Toshiki tells us that Makubex looked into the history in the archive of the fortress. Genji was going to die, and he sent them there to stop that from happening. He theorizes that Genji in Lightning Emperor mode can change the fate the archive has for them. Kagami sees Bon and Himiko one last time. He seems to really be interested in Himiko's voodoo curse, which triggers Bon. The time for Himiko's voodoo thing is near, and I guess that sparks the end of the story plot, maybe? The brain trust seems to be waiting for something to happen, and that's the only countdown we have. A reminder, Himiko is 16. When she turns 17, her voodoo thing will activate. That's what made Bon kill her brother, Yamato. We still don't know what the curse does, and I'm excited to finally get the answer. Real quick, important theory time. I want to hone in on a theory I have about the end of the story. Makubex says the quote-unquote history in the archive told him Genji would die, but changed the fate. The word history piqued my interest. Has all of this happened before? If what I'm thinking is the actual ending of this story, it would be hype. We know they do experiments in the fortress. It's a VR city. What if the whole story is a simulation inside the fortress archive? This story we're following is just one simulation inside the fortress. Or at least the archive the fortress is referring to ran the simulation a million times and gives them the outcome and they take it as fate. That would make a little more sense, I guess. But this whole story being a simulation inside the archive would be interesting. Alright, back to the story. The boys and Emishi go to visit Shido and Madoka. They overhear a conversation about Shido talking about Amon. We get a backstory about Amon. Shido was childhood friends with him. Amon hated his ability, but he always smiled. He says it would be weird for him to cry for people when he's the cause of them dying, so he would rather send them away with a smile. If we don't laugh for those who already left us, how can we go on? That's a beautiful way to put it. Amon just wanted to make people laugh, but his ability stopped him from getting close to people. When Shido went to the fortress, the Kiryudo attacked Amon's village. Amon was in critical condition when he tried to save a Kiryudo girl, but she shot him after he saved her. He didn't want to live anymore, taking people's life so he could live. He was going to die, so Shido put the chimera in him to save him. So Shido was the one with the chimera and gave it to Amon. He went to the fortress to hide because the Kiryudo still thought he had the chimera with him. It's a smart play from Shido, but that didn't stop the Kiryudo from attacking other clans. Amon giving his life was just a way to repay the favor to Shido. They just had to make me like Amon more. The boys leave without seeing Shido and Madoka. Emishi is sad, but Amon chose that for himself, so he respects the decision. Bon tells Genji what it means to be a retriever. It's like putting a puzzle together. The picture becomes much more clear the further you go, but you won't know what the picture looks like until you find the final piece. They saw the final picture, and it wasn't so bad. Before I go to my final thoughts on the arc, I'll talk about the epilogue. The boys are chilling at the Honk Tonk. Makubex calls them for a favor to join a game of tag at the Limitless Fortress. Whoever wins gets 1 million yen. He says he needs Bon's Jogon ability specifically to make it work. We get a funny series of panels showing all the people that showed up. They bump into a big dude with a short temper. He picks a fight with them, and each time he doesn't realize who they are until they beat him up. It's a special game of tag where one person is trying to avoid everyone else. The person that's picked is Emishi. There are a bunch of gags that happen with him trying to get away from everyone and them getting in each other's way. Makubex says this is a challenge against the gods of the fortress, so there is another point to this game. Emishi is about to get caught by someone, and it turns out to be Amon. The whole game was to get a big crowd for Emishi and Amon to do their stand-up routine. Makubex combined Bon's Evil Eye and the virtual reality. The people here will assume it's Bon's Jogon. The people at the top will assume it's the VR. It's a big fuck you to the brain trust and a gift to Emishi. Emishi knows Amon isn't really there, but he just lives in the moment. I like the Emishi love we're getting. This was a good way to bring down the tension after the arc. Oh boy, okay. Thoughts on this arc. It's a very interesting arc, much more straightforward than Divine Design. I like that I got more content with Shido and Madoka. The anime set up the Kiryudo clan with Kirihito, but it didn't amount to anything. It was unfinished, so I'm glad after years I got the closure to what the anime was supposed to get to. It was a way bigger arc than I thought it would be, a lot deeper than I was expecting. Like I said earlier, I thought it was just going to be animal people fighting bug people. It kind of was that, except the powers were nowhere near what I thought they would be. Shido's clan shocked me the most. I thought they would be the same as Shido, not have completely different powers. Like Shido is the wolf clan, Karu is the bunny clan, Ryuo is the bear clan, something like that. Not Amon is the Grim Reaper, he just sucks the life force of things around him. And Ryuo has the ability to make anything go to near-death sleep. It's cool, just not what I expected. The Kiryudo do feel like a threat. The beginning with them jumping Shido at Madoka's house made them feel threatening. They made it seem like the Kiryudo were hunting Shido's clan down, but in reality, they were scared of them coming together and destroying their clan. It was a nice little bait and switch. The Kiryudo plan was smart to steal Madoka in exchange for Genji's body. The sprinkling of saying Genji will die in this arc was intriguing, even though there was no way he would die. I wanted to see how the arc resolved this. The Kiryudo chiefs were cool. The ones we spent the most time with were interesting. I'm surprised the mangaka managed to give each of them a unique, memorable moment. Well, at least he tried his best to. There were so many people in this arc, I'm fine with the amount of character development we got with them. Out of the 7 chiefs, only the water guy and mantis guy didn't get much screen time. Everyone else I think were fleshed out really well. I guess my favorite chief was Jogamo, mainly because we spent the most time with her clan. Getting to know all her henchmen was cool. She started out for revenge for her son, even though Kirihito is a bum. It was satisfying seeing Saicho, the butterfly guy, get rocked. He was smug the whole arc, and seeing Bon take him down easily was great. Again, Kabuto being a bug reveal was good. It somehow made me want to be nicer to bugs. In case it was confusing, I'll explain it again. The Chimera, which is basically a powerful heart, just gave him the power to make his clan, the Kiryudo. Them and Shido's clan, the Maryudo, lived together in harmony. When they learned of Kabuto's plan to take over the world, they ripped out the Chimera from him and hid it for hundreds of years. After that, Kabuto became an entity spirit of just pure hatred. Kabuto needed the heart to be resurrected inside a human body. He sacrificed his clan to take their souls. The body to hold the souls was Genji's, but it didn't work because Genji kicked him out of it by going Lightning Emperor mode. Kabuto then goes and takes over Shido's body, but after that, they just win, and you know how it goes from there. That's the arc in a nutshell, in case there was confusion. The Genji not having his electric powers for the arc was interesting. It was a necessary thing to do for Genji's character development. He needed to learn how to not rely on using his powers to get stronger. Now we have Ultra Instinct Genji, where I'm sure it will come up again later. Emishi and Eamon were my favorite characters this arc. Even though they came in halfway through the arc, I feel for them. They were just having a good time the whole time. They're both jokesters, and Emishi had hoped they would be a comedy duo after the war was over. Eamon having a tragic life, not being able to stay near people, or else he risked killing them. Emishi being the only one to not care about his power, killing him, and staying by his side was admirable. Everything with these two hit. I didn't expect them to be my favorite duo this arc, even though it was meant to be Shido focused. That'd be my only negative thing about the arc. Shido wasn't really present in it. He didn't really do anything until the very end, where he sacrificed himself. Yes, he got his other clan members, but they didn't do anything for 90% of the arc. It wasn't bad, I just expected him to be in it a lot more. Also, I forgot he gave them the whistle at the beginning of the arc to use if they find Madoka, but they never used it. But overall, it's a solid arc.